Everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 675 of NoDQ&A video. Thank you all that have been watching NoDQ&A video for the past 4 years now. And if you're watching for the very first time, welcome. My name is Aaron Rift. I'm the owner of NoDQ.com. I answer your questions from Twitter and sometimes Facebook, depending on how many questions I have. Got a lot though right now. We're coming off SummerSlam. We have Night of Champions coming up. Got lots of your questions, so let's get started here today with the first one from Mr. Yuck. Where does the U.S. belt even play in the Rollins and Sting storyline? Will the champion defend both or separately at Night of Champions? I'm assuming that it will be for the WWE title when it's Seth Rollins versus Sting. Now, as for the U.S. title, a lot of people are asking me about that. I got this question here from Lewis Smith. Can you see Rollins fighting twice at Night of Champions versus Sting for the WWE title and versus Cena for the US title? That seems to be the logical direction for Night of Champions. John Cena is without a match at this point, and one would think that he's entitled to his US title rematch. And the thing about Night of Champions that WWE has been promoting for years is that it's the one pay-per-view of the year where every single title is on the line. That's the gimmick of the pay-per-view. So one would think that, yes, Seth Rollins will be pulling double duty at Night of Champions, and that would be a logical way for Rollins to lose the titles since he has to defend both in one night. That's his excuse. He loses the WWE title to Sting. He could say, hey, I had to wrestle 2 matches in one night, and then they can build up to a rematch at Hell in a Cell. And then John Cena can go on his merry way as the U.S. champion again and feud with whoever, go back to having these epic matches with 20 near falls against the up-and-comers in WWE, or whatever WWE wants to do with John Cena in that storyline. But that would certainly be a logical way to get the title off Rollins without making him look too weak. And he can actually lose twice in one night, and as a heel, he can come out the next night and complain about it and say he got screwed, and then that sets up the rematch. And, if Sting wins the WWE title, Rollins can always get it back at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where they can do the whole angle with Sheamus cashing it in. All right, this one comes from @High42Day44. Hey, Aaron, could you possibly see Maria returning to WWE, not on the main roster, but NXT? I always get this question about various former divas coming back, and my answer is always the same. With the divas, as much as I hate to say it, they are fairly interchangeable, and WWE is doing a Divas Revolution right now. They have their own divas that are coming up from NXT, and WWE, the way they've always been, whether they're looking for models or wrestlers that they want to take seriously in the ring, they want people to take those people seriously. WWE is always looking for young women. They don't want to bring in women that were popular 10 years ago. That's just how WWE as a company operates. It's all about cosmetics and looks. Unfortunately, that's the way it is in the world of WWE. Even women that they are bringing in as credible wrestlers, they still want them to be attractive. And Maria is still attractive, but she was a star 10 years ago. And I think WWE is looking for women in their young, early 20s to bring in to the main roster and to NXT as well. Never say never, I guess, but the fact that we haven't really seen many former divas come back, with a few exceptions. I mean, Sable came back after being gone, and she was older. But for the most part, I mean, how many women have you seen come back that were popular a decade earlier? It just doesn't happen in the world of WWE with the Divas division. All right, this one comes from Derek. Hey, Aaron, please answer in video. Why did DLo Brown lose his push when he paralyzed draws, but Batista didn't when he injured John Cena? Well, the big difference is Batista was one of WWE's top stars and DLo Brown wasn't. And number two, Cena wasn't paralyzed by Batista. And even if something tragic had happened in a Batista versus John Cena match and John Cena got seriously hurt or even paralyzed, Batista was a major money star for WWE. With DLo Brown, he was not in that position in the company, and WWE felt. I don't feel that they stopped pushing him because of that incident, but there were probably some hard feelings, and I don't think it's a coincidence that DLo didn't really go anywhere after that incident. But I doubt that they just said, hey, look, we're not going to push this guy anymore. I think they continued to use him, and they just slowly faded him out over time. And for whatever reason, DLo Brown's career just went downhill after that incident. And that was very unfortunate. But if it happened with somebody like Batista, there's just so much money invested in somebody like Batista that it probably would not happen. And even Owen Hart, when he injured Steve Austin, Owen Hart was in a higher position than DLo Brown was. Owen Hart, brother of Bret Hart, and had been a big star in the company for several years. And he was still pushed after that incident with Austin. All right, this one comes from Slow Speed Net. Do you think a Team Hell No reunion is going to happen anytime soon? I would love to see Team Hell No versus the Dudleys or New Day. I think that there are a lot of factors for that to happen. First of all, Daniel Bryan, will he even come back, period? And if he does, at what capacity will he be at? Will he be at 100% like the old days, or will he not be able to perform at the level that he once was able to? That would determine if WWE wanted to possibly put him back in a tag team. If Daniel Bryan could not go at 100%, it would be more logical to put him in a tag team and maybe reunite him with Kane again. I think it's unlikely that will happen on a full-time basis, but I would not rule out the possibility of maybe a one-off where they reunite the two of them for one big match. That could certainly happen, and who knows what's going to happen with Kane when they bring him back, if they are going to push him as a monster again with a mask, or if he's just going to go right back to being the corporate Kane. There's just so many factors. I would say yes, as a possibility, maybe one time, but them coming back and being a regular tag team again, I think it's unlikely. If Daniel Bryan comes back, one would think that they're going to push him as a single star and have him be put in the main events like he was before the injury, but who knows? It's really hard to say at this point. All right, this one comes from the Anime Fans with a Z at the end. I was reading up on 1994, the year I was born. So what if Vince McMahon was convicted in 1994? If Vince McMahon was convicted in that steroids trial in 94, I think that the whole landscape of the wrestling industry would have been very different. If Vince McMahon was out of the picture today, I think WWE would go on just fine with Triple H and Stephanie. But in 94, the WWF was not nearly as strong of a brand as the WWE is today. And when Vince was gone during that trial, the product was just absolutely horrible. I like to say the product is weak right now, and some people out there say that it's the worst it's ever been right now. But you go back and you watch mid-1994 WWF, it wasn't too good. Not good at all, actually. And Vince was not around because he was dealing with his legal troubles. And once he came back, things started to pick up again a little bit. Vince was the captain of the ship. He was the guy in charge. And without Vince, who knows if the WWF would have survived? It's really hard to say. I hate the what-if questions because there's no way to know. But without Vince in 94, the WWF would have been in a lot of trouble. That's for sure. All right, this one comes from Jeffman PP. Did Stephen Amell have the best performance by a celebrity in a WWE ring? Can you see him having more matches in the future? It was certainly up there. It was one of the better performances that I can remember in recent memory, maybe ever. He definitely exceeded my personal expectations, and I could see him coming back for another match. They still have the opportunity to do Stardust versus the Arrow in a one-on-one match at the next pay-per-view Night of Champions. They could do that. I'm tired of the Stardust gimmick. I wish that would end, but since they did the tag team match at the SummerSlam pay-per-view, they certainly could do a singles match and do one more match. But, there's also a novelty aspect to it, and, it was special to see him in the ring for the first time, and the second time around, might not really mean all that much. And also in the tag team match environment, he was protected, and he didn't have to do all the work in the match. You had Neville in there as well, and with a singles match, he would be more exposed, and it would be more difficult to pull off a good match in a one-on-one environment. So it's hard to say. I mean, he definitely did well, and with the training and preparation, maybe they could have a good match in a one-on-one environment. All right, this next one comes from Die Zombie. If Mick Foley had one more match, who would you have him go against? For me, I would have Mankind versus Bray Wyatt. Well, I would not have Mick Foley in one more match because of his age and how broken down he is. But let's just say he was the Mick Foley of 1995. And he could come back and do one more match, and his body could hold up, and he could do all the crazy spots. I'd put him in there with Rollins. I mean, to me, that would be the biggest match possible. Seth Rollins, the WWE champion, against Mankind in a crazy no-holds-barred brawl. But then again, would I bring back Mick Foley in 2015 WWE when he would probably be very limited as to what he could do? I doubt you would have all the blood and the thumbtacks and all the crazy falls from high places. So it's really hard to say. I don't know if I would bring back Mick Foley in today's WWE because I don't know if he would really fit. All right, this one comes from Haskell. Do you think Diamond Dallas Page should have ended Goldberg's streak instead of Kevin Nash? Please answer in video. No. DDP was a huge star in 1998. However, he was already into his 40s. Ideally, a young superstar would have been Goldberg, and you would have established a new superstar by having that guy beat Goldberg, and that's something that is his claim to fame. He ended Goldberg's streak. That makes him an instant superstar. That would have been ideal. Second choice, I would have gone with Scott Steiner when he was building up momentum as Big Papa Pump. What WCW did with Steiner at the end of WCW, I would have done that a year and a half sooner and had him beat Goldberg and go on a rampage as the top heel and run out all the top guys, beat Hogan, beat Flair, and you have these new guys coming in to try and take back WCW from the Scott Steiner empire. And I would have done that way sooner. By 2001, it was too little, too late. All right, this one comes from @Mr_Panda316. In your opinion, who are the best and worst King of the Ring winners? Well, until this year, I would have gone with Badass Billy Gunn as the worst King of the Ring winner. But now, I would go with King Barrett because WWE just completely dropped the ball. The King of the Ring victory meant absolutely nothing. And all those bad matches with R-Truth did nothing for him. I mean, he really went nowhere. He gained nothing out of becoming King of the Ring. Absolutely nothing. At least Billy Gunn got a SummerSlam match with The Rock. I mean, that was better than nothing. And Mabel wasn't too good either because it led to one of the worst WWE title matches in pay-per-view history at that SummerSlam in '95. Best King of the Ring winners, Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Edge, Brock Lesnar, all of them were great. But my personal favorite, because of the fact that he took the gimmick and made it memorable, was Owen Hart. In '94, when he won King of the Ring, he proclaimed himself the King of Hearts, and he would keep that nickname for about 2 years until he became the Slammy Award-winning Owen Hart. But that's the thing I liked about Owen Hart is he really embraced the gimmick in a unique way. Not the typical put on the crown and the robe. He had it on his tights, and he just embraced the title of being King of the Ring and got it over, in my opinion. So I give credit to Owen Hart for that with the King of the Ring, and he's my all-time personal favorite winner. Just because he really did something with that moniker, the King of the Ring, in a unique fashion. All right, this one comes from Jared J. Smith. Hey, Aaron, if you were running WCW during its weakest period from late 98 to 2001, what would you have done differently? Well, that's really hard to say because there's so many problems with WCW during that period that you would have to basically change the entire infrastructure of the company. I mean, it's not just creatively what was on television, but the production team and everything behind the scenes and how people were getting paid. There were just so many problems with WCW, not just what you saw on television, but what you didn't see on television, and all the backstage politics getting out of control. Creatively, I mentioned a few minutes ago, Scott Steiner ending Goldberg's streak. There's a lot of things that could have been done creatively. I mean, the biggest problem was WCW was not making new stars. It was the same guys on top for years, and nothing was changing in WCW. Kind of sounds like a certain company today in 2015, but everyone thinks WWE today is great, right? But you look at WCW in '99, and Hogan was on top, Flair was on top, Sting was on top, and the guys like Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit were struggling to move up the ranks, and they got fed up and they went to WWE. So yeah, the number one thing I would have done was phased out the older guys and pushed the new guys. And Russo, he says he tried to do that in '99, but there were a lot of issues with Russo's programming and in his Crash TV format in WCW, so that didn't really work. But, I would have tried to have kept WCW different from the WWE. Not try to do all the Crash TV stuff, but try to do something different. So you tune into WCW, you're getting something different from the WWF. That would have been one thing, pushing the younger talent and, paying people for when they perform. And, if the wrestlers are drawing and, they're selling merchandise, they get paid more. If they're not, they don't get paid more. And, that was a problem too in WCW. Guys were getting paid the guaranteed contracts, whether house shows were selling or not, whether pay-per-views were selling or not. And, once WCW business started going down, these guys were still getting paid the big bucks when the company wasn't bringing in the money anymore. All right, this last one today comes from Ben Jones. Would you like to see more British wrestlers in WWE or more global wrestlers? I really don't care if they're from the UK or Canada or Mexico or Japan. You bring in somebody if they're a good performer. That's the bottom line. Doesn't matter where they're from. It is nice to have a variety of styles. Have a Mexican superstar, have a Japanese superstar. I mean, that is fine, but I don't really feel you need to have more British wrestlers or more Japanese wrestlers or more Mexican wrestlers. Just have a good balance and bring in somebody if they have the talent, regardless of where they're from. All right, so that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend on Facebook or Twitter. Grab an official NoDQ.com t-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. Search NoDQ or check out the link in the description box. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Night of Champions. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time for another edition of NoDQ&A video.